world is gripped by confusion and terror, there's only one news network you can turn.
From Maury County, this is WITW News 7 with anchors Jonathan Rain and Camille Dawson, Tito Jackson with weather and sports, and field reporters London Chase and Alicia Johnson. You are now watching WITW News 7.
On tonight's top story, there was a deadly accident earlier today on Highway 501.
The devastating collision sent one person to Grand Strand Medical Center. Our field correspondent, London Chase, is standing by with more details. London?
It's a little staticky, like some type of interference. Okay. The head-on collision on Highway 501 has sent one driver to Grand Strand Regional Medical Center. I spoke with a witness who saw the whole thing that said it's a wonder that anyone is alive.
I mean, it happened so fast. I really can't say that I saw everything, but the sound was so devastating. Those cars looked like it had death written all over it. I can't see how anyone made it out alive.
Right now, all we know is that the victim has 2 broken arms and a broken leg. One of her arms was broke in 2 places. A name hasn't been released, but the EMTs are very concerned about stabilizing her bleeding, as they were just notified that the young lady is a cancer survivor. We'll be standing by as more details unfold. Back to you in the studio.
The victim is now in stable condition and was able to make a statement. Here's what she had to say.
On December the 28th, I was traveling to Loris to my cousin's wife's funeral. So I prayed, asked God to cover me in the blood and give me traveling mercies. And just at the point where I said amen, I noticed that the car in the other lane came over into my lane. I thought he was trying to pass the car in front of him, but he wasn't getting back into his lane fast enough, so I'm thinking, oh God, he's going to hit me. And I just prepared myself for death. I knew that I was going to die because he was traveling so fast and there was nowhere for me to go. So I just asked God to wash me and cleanse me, you know, preparing myself because I knew that when I opened my eyes, I was going to be in eternity.
Come with me. Jesus said, Martha, take ye away the stone. And Jesus lifted up his eyes and said, Father, I thank thee that thou hast heard me. And then Jesus cried aloud,
Lazarus! Come out!
Lazarus, come forth. And he that was dead came forth.
He came out. His hands and feet wrapped in and with a cloth round his face.
When I woke up, I was at Grand Strand Hospital. I had broken both arms. My femur was broken, and the bone behind my kneecap was broken. I had a closed head injury, and I had some injuries to my face from the glass. My brother-in-law was like, somebody came in here and gave you a makeover? Because they saw me the day before, and they know how my face was messed up. And they were saying how the next day, how God had already started healing my face. I mean, because I hadn't seen my face yet. They hadn't given me a mirror. I didn't get a mirror until I went to PCU. Out of ICU, I went to PCU. And then I saw my face, and I was like, oh, okay, it's gonna heal. You know, it wasn't no big deal. Yeah, he just really gave a peace, and it was nobody but God. That one day, there was one day, like I told you before, that was the only day. And I hadn't slept because I was hurting so bad. They were giving me morphine, like whenever I needed it, and something else. But you know, you can only get so much morphine. But that morning, there was nobody in the hospital. This was the first day that I was alone ever in about 13 days. And that's when the enemy visited me for the first time out of those 13 days that I was up there. And I can remember, I remember it just like, I mean, I can hear it. And the first thing that the enemy said was, look at you laying up here. God don't care nothing about you. Look at him. He keeps allowing things to happen to you to take you away from your children. Look at all the young women in the church. You don't see God allowing none of this to happen to them. And look at your life. People walking out of your life and leaving you, and they're healthy. God don't care nothing about you. And I was hurting, and I was tired, and at that point I told God, I said, I can't do this. He's right. And I gave in to the enemy, because at that point I guess I was vulnerable. And I told God, I can't do this. I just can't do this. And I started crying. I mean, crying uncontrollably. And God let me cry. And still was so amazing. This was in the morning. And usually in the mornings while I was in the hospital, there was always somebody in and out of there bringing medicine. It was breakfast time. Nobody came in that room while I was crying, while the enemy was talking. And I thought I kind of got myself together. And I heard God. He said to me, do you remember when you were 9 and you stayed with your aunt for the summer? And I just listened to him. I couldn't say anything because I couldn't believe that I can really hear God talking to me. And he said, you remember that man who lived in the house with your aunt? Do you remember that sick feeling you got in your stomach when he looked at you? And I said to myself, inside myself, yes, God. And he said, wasn't I there? And he said, remember when you were a teenager, by that time your self-esteem and your self-worth and your value, your self-value was all messed up. You hated yourself. You felt like you were worthless. You started looking for love in all the wrong places and doing things that you really didn't enjoy doing, but you did them to get love. And remember getting pregnant as a teenage girl and going to that abortion clinic? Do you remember how you almost hemorrhaged after that abortion? And I was saying, yes, God. And he said, wasn't I there? And do you remember when you spiraled down into more darkness and more shame and feeling even more worthless after that? Do you remember the night you were in the tub with the razor trying to figure out where to cut your wrist so you can commit suicide? And I brought back to your remembrance that tract that you received as a little girl. And God said, wasn't I there? And he said, remember when you were diagnosed with breast cancer? You remember how scared you were? Didn't I stand close enough to you for you to feel the warmth of my presence when you were going through those tests, those painful tests? And he said, wasn't I there? And he kept going on, and different scenarios, different dark periods of my life, and just asking me, wasn't I there? Wasn't I there? Wasn't I there? And all I can do within myself is say, yes, God. And he said to me, after all of that, he said, do you think that I'm going to leave you now? And at that point, I cried like a baby. The only thing I could do was say, because I was speechless. He had gone back through my life, even at times when I didn't have him, and showed me that he was even there before I knew him, and that he wasn't going to leave me. And at that point is when I knew that I was really going to be all right. I felt like I could probably leap over a wall at that point, because I knew God was there. He manifested himself, and he let me know that he was going to work a miracle. He was going to raise me up, and he did. After getting out of the hospital, I had 9 months of physical therapy, painful therapy, but I thank and praise God that I've healed miraculously. My leg is healed miraculously. The doctor told me that probably after 12 months I would have to have a bone graft because my femur was broken. It had what they call a pencil break, sort of like a pencil breaks like this, and it splintered. And he said that there was no way that that bone was going to fill in. But when I went to my last visit, he said, come out here and look at your x-rays. And he said, this is just amazing. It's amazing. You won't have to have a bone graft. They told me that I would never, he said it would probably be 2 years before I can lift this hand because I had ulnar damage. But when I was in the hospital, I could lift my hand, I could bathe myself, I could feed myself. God totally said, not so, because this is my praise hand. So I give God praise for the miracle that he's worked. I thank him for allowing me to partake in a miracle. It's just a miracle. It's just a miracle. I haven't taken a pain pill for my injury since March of 2012. Not so much as a Tylenol or an Advil. That is nobody but God, and I thank him and I praise him.
It has been confirmed that the woman in the accident is Miss Jamie Lewis. It was luck that she survived that accident. In other news, our very own Tito Jackson will give us an update on sports and our weekly weather forecast. Tito?
Thanks, Jesse. Now, it appears there's been a very vicious sandstorm in the Sahara Desert, which really isn't news because the whole desert is sand. Anyway, if you look over here in this area, right over here, this is our national news for the state of Conway. There appears to be a lot of white stuff right here that usually happens when it's cold outside, the snow. So if you go outside, you're going to want to wear jackets and hats and stuff that keeps you warm. Now, we're going to switch all the way over here to row 378. Right here, it seems to be a lot of water falling from the sky, but it's not cold. It's actually hot. It's hot rain. So if you go outside, you're going to want to wear raincoats, but wear the ones that don't have sleeves on them. That way you can still keep dry and still be cool at the same time, all right? Now we're going to go away to sports. Don't look at that. We're going to go to sports, okay? It appears that a young man by the name of Jaquel Crosslands.
Jaquel Crossland.
Of some sort, has won an athletic scholarship to the Limestone University. And as you can see right here, he got tackled right there. He lost the ball right there. Well, apparently he got it for football. Do we have any shots of him scoring any touchdowns or anything?
This is a 52-yard touchdown run.
No? Well, apparently he got a full football scholarship. Congratulations to him. Back to you, Chamomile.
Thanks, Tito. Today on our Horry County Health segment, our spotlight is on women suffering with multiple sclerosis, also known as MS. MS is an inflammatory disease that affects the central nervous system. This disease is rare among children, and in about 2/3 of the cases, it begins around 20 to 40. It affects your mobility and ability to carry out your daily duties. Now, I had the opportunity to sit and talk with a local woman whose fight began in her early 20s.
Hi, Dr. Richardson, and I'm just coming in today. Are you doing okay? I'm very sorry, but our results have confirmed that you do have multiple sclerosis. Okay, listen, years ago it used to be a very bad prognosis for it, but it's going to be challenging. I cannot lie to you.
Whose report shall you believe? But he was wounded for our transgressions. He was bruised for our iniquities. The chastisement of our peace is upon him, and with his stripes we are healed.
My fight with MS began in my 20s. The disease sometimes made it difficult for me to walk or talk or even care for myself. But I always remembered this. With the good Lord on my side, I was determined not to let MS to hold me down. So I found the strength to be with my loved ones and do the things I enjoy. Each Sunday, I would press my way to church, even if it took using a cane, a walker, or being pushed by a wheelchair. I was not going to let MS stop me. So I kept my job, continued teaching Sunday school.
Who died on
Jesus!
Correct.
Working in the prison ministry, even leading songs in the choir. I thank God for giving me such a wonderful husband, great children, family, friends, and a church family who supports me in my battle with MS. And I will continue to stand strong and give the devil a big old black eye as I fight the good fight of faith.
We thank Ms. Willard for her story on our health segment. Now over to you, Jonathan.
Thank you, Camille. What an awesome story. Now for our spotlight on community, we will turn it over to our junior correspondents, Richard and Nellie.
There was a good turnout at this year's Easter egg hunt. Some may say it was the best one in a long time.
They were running around and having so much fun. I try to keep up with them. Anybody got time for that? Listen, little hearts.
Madness! This is England!
Those poor babies are gonna be so tired. Raw Pearls Incorporated held their annual fashion show, giving you the latest, what's hot and what's not. Easter edition. That's all for now.
Now back to you in the studio.
Thank you, Richard and Nellie. That is some exciting things.
Breaking news just in. A man busted for drugs in Conway. Correspondents are standing by for more details.
Good evening. I'm Alicia Johnson, and I'm standing outside of the police station where a Conway man was just detained for drug distribution. Hold on, maybe that's someone now. We can get a statement. Sir, could you give us any information about the drug bust in Conway?
Well, what we can say is this is not the suspect's first run-in with the legal system. This is his second distribution charge of illegal narcotics, and we are holding him for questioning.
Do you have a name for the suspect? Did he confess to the crime?
I can't release any more information at this time. No further questions.
Well, that's all the information that we have at this moment, but we'll be sure to update you with new information when it's released.
Need one. I need one. Slow it down.
Go out to breakfast, come back and change.
I was born one of 8 children in a single parent home in Conway, South Carolina. I didn't have a relationship with my father. He was abusive to my mother before abandoning us. With no father in the home, my older brother took on the burden of raising me and my younger siblings, surviving the best way we know how, while my mom worked so hard to keep the household together. My siblings had a lot of time to get in all sorts of trouble. I saw and learned a lot prematurely. Growing up in the projects, I started skipping class, staying out late, and sneaking into nightclubs. Not long after that, my older brother introduced me to crack cocaine. Later, I joined the Navy to get back on the right track but on the base I became reacquainted with my old drug habits, which led me to an dishonorable discharge from the military. From there, my life took a downward spiral, which led me to 2 felony crack cocaine charges.
For we receive the due reward of our deeds. But this man has done nothing amiss. And he said unto Jesus, Lord, remember me when thou comest into thy kingdom. And Jesus said unto him, Verily I say unto thee, today thou shalt be with me in paradise.
Hello, I'm Alicia Johnson. I'm standing inside of the court building where I was informed earlier that Hunter Only of Conway received the pardon from the governor of South Carolina. Since Mr. Only's pardon, he spends time with his wife and his children, in addition to serving as a mentor and motivational speaker to reach young men in prison and in this community. This is Alicia Johnson, signing off. Good night.